Hey, this is a quick video to show you how to do an oil and filter change on a 2019 Mazda CX-5. Also on a side note, this is essentially how you do most oil changes for general population vehicles. The only differences may be how you reset the computer and the type of oil and filter. Make sure the car is in park, the parking brake's engaged, and you open up the hood. Once you get into the hood, make sure you remove the oil cap, which is at the top of the engine, and you'll notice that the type of oil that's needed is on the cap itself. So for this type of vehicle, you use 0W20 fully synthetic oil, and then my personal preference is using a Fram oil filter just because it has a really good grip spot at the bottom, but that's definitely a preference thing. So once you get up under the car, make sure you have it lifted and again, make sure you have the parking brake in place. You're going to see a panel that has one of the pull buttons and then two screws. You're going to remove the two screws. Pretty straightforward and simple. And then you're going to remove the pull tab using a flathead screwdriver. Once you remove that, you'll notice the oil pan, which is used with a 17mm bolt, and your oil filter. Make sure you have a oil pan. This one I only got a 10 quart because you only need 5 quarts of oil for this car to begin with. And then you're just going to take your socket wrench, give it a nice pull, and it'll break the bolt free. And then just slowly kind of work it and let it start to drip a little bit. And then once you let it loose enough, oil will start to come out, and just let that drain. And yes, I should have been wearing gloves at that point, but I was just ready to get the oil changed and didn't think about it at the time. So let all the oil drain out until you get to pretty much just a gentle little drip. And then you can put the bolt back into place, hand tighten it, and then you'll follow up with your socket wrench and tighten it back up. Now, a lot of times people will use the oil filter wrenches. I've never really been in a situation where I needed one. Usually a rubber glove is good enough. And especially if you have one of the Fram oil filters that has the textured grip on it, usually you're pretty good. This one was one of the ones from the Mazda factory, so it didn't have any type of grip, so it gave me a little bit of difficulty. But just give it a gentle spin, and just like with the bolt, let it drip a little bit first, so that way you're not completely overloaded with oil when you try to take the filter down, because once it detaches from the threading, a bunch pours out. And again, I use the Fram oil filters because it's got this textured grip at the bottom, which makes it really easy to get it off in the future. And then a little trick that I had learned is you just take on the outside edge of the rim, take a little bit of oil and just rub it around the rubber gasket, just to kind of help create a seal once you put the new filter on. And I guess technically there is some oil that's already on the spot where the filter was, so I guess that could technically do the same thing for you, but either way. So make sure that's nice and snug, and then you can replace your panel. So just put it back on in the reverse of which you took it off. Push that little button back in there and then tighten the two screws. And then it's time to go up top. So I use this flexible style of funnel because it's just easier to maneuver, especially if you have the SUV up on a lift. And I put a towel there just to kind of help save any drips. And again, this car takes the full 5 quarts of oil, so you really don't have to worry too much about measuring anything out or anything, but just make sure you give it a moment for the funnel to fill and then empty and fill and empty. And then finally, at the very end, just use your dipstick, make sure you clean it off, and then put it in, check to make sure the oil is sitting where you want it. And if it's good, then you are pretty much done with your oil change. Replace the cap, and then I usually just at that point try to wipe down the engine a little bit too, just to keep dust off of it for future. Alright, so now we're going to head over into the car to remove the little wrench light that you see on the dash. All you have to do is go into the applications portion of your navigation entertainment system, and once you go into there, you'll see vehicle status monitor. Click on that. and then maintenance. And it's actually going to give you three things. It'll have something set up for scheduled maintenance, which is usually when you take it into your dealership. Being that this time around it was just an oil change, I just went ahead and just did it myself. But then you have a setting for oil change, which you'll go down and you'll select reset. Yes. And then for the tire rotation, I'm actually going to get that taken care of here soon, so I'm just go ahead and reset it anyway. And then last but not least, the scheduled maintenance. Do the same thing with that. The wrench light should be missing now from your dashboard, and you have successfully completed your oil change.